Hi there, welcome back on the channel. As you can see, we have another Mercedes today. This one is again a bit special because it's not only with an ICE engine, it's also sort of an electric car. Well, yeah, it's a plug-in hybrid. Probably you guessed it by now. This time we are reviewing the C-Class, is the C300e in team model, the station wagon variant of the new C-Class, and this car is manufactured in 2022 and it has done about 37,000 kilometers until now. But you might ask, what does the 300e means? Well, for the C-Class we have a 2-liter petrol engine with 4 cylinders and turbochargers, and an electric motor that all the system drives the rear wheels only via the 9-speed automatic gearbox with a torque converter from Mercedes. The battery of the plug-in system, it's about almost actually 20 kilowatts net, so usable capacity. And continuing the specs from the datasheet, you will see the total output of the system at around 313 horsepower and a massive torque figure of about 550 Newton meters. So yeah, pretty much values for a diesel engine, 3-liter bi-turbo diesel engine, and it's almost the same value for that engine coupled on a bigger car, nevertheless, in terms of the weight of this C-Class, because it's about 2.1 tons. So yeah, quite hefty for somewhat of a compact vehicle, even in this station wagon configuration. But it's understandable. It does have the bigger battery for the plug-in part. So yeah, it's a small trade-off. Continuing again with the specs, you are looking at about 6.2 seconds for the sprint from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, and the top speed is limited to 240 kilometers per hour. Maybe they're sort of relevant, but I think that the most relevant part is actually in terms of the consumption. Well, not necessarily the petrol consumption, because Mercedes says that it will get about 6.8 liters in average while depleting the battery, but obviously it's gonna be a bit higher than that in real life. But I meant the consumption in electricity, because it does have quite a usable amount of battery, and you could travel at about 70, maybe 80 kilometers on electric power alone. Again, not nearly what the manufacturer states, that's about 100 to 110 kilometers. But once again, in real life, it depends on your driving style, on the conditions, if it's cold outside. But even so, 70-80 kilometers is more than enough. And another thing, even though here in Romania, the station wagon is not necessarily the favorite design of the C-Class. As you can see, this one with the AMG pack, it looks quite nice actually. In terms of the luggage space, being an estate, obviously you do have quite a big opening, and as you can see, this is premium. Yeah, I mean, in my book, in my terms, this is premium when the cover of the trunk area goes away when you open the trunk. You don't have to get dirty to cover the trunk when you're done with your luggages. And as you can see, our carry-on luggage is not really petite in here, but I think you can squeeze about 5, maybe 6 carry-on luggages like this one, because, come on, it's a plug-in hybrid with quite a big battery actually, and as you can see, the trunk area is a bit raised and there's nothing under this this part, because we have the battery in here. So the only storage compartment is on the left side, which seems to be quite premium actually. The materials are nice, and also the lock. And as you can see, that's pretty much all the additional space in here, with a small cubby on the right side, some hooks for your shopping bags, the ability to hold down the rear bench from here, and also on the other side, and a 12-volt outlet on the left side only. But once again, for sort of a compact car, at least here in Europe, it's more than enough space back here. Now let's check out the space in the back, starting for a moment with the door card. Being a premium car, once again, we are talking about fine materials, soft materials, even up here, some interesting decor elements, ambient lighting, some piano black around the door part, but what can you do? At least the door itself seems pretty sturdy. You do have a pocket in here and a speaker from the sound system. Something again that screams premium, the back pockets, and some air vents, but unfortunately without a climate unit here in the back. But you do get some USB-Cs and a 12-volt outlet, an armrest, which does have a place for your phone, or a couple of cup holders that are pretty nice actually. They're adaptive. And in this configuration you do have a panoramic sunroof and something to differentiate the luggage compartment and the back seats. So as you can see, I have more than enough space back here. Even though, yeah, the front chair, maybe it's only a bit over the B pillar of the car. It could have been further back. But even so, I have more than a palm of space for my knees, and also for my head. Again, even though we have a glass roof, I do have plenty of space for my head. Yeah, you wouldn't say that when you first see the car being kind of compact on the outside. You wouldn't guess that you have so much space back here. I can also stretch my legs, so yeah, all in all, pretty nice back here. I do have a couple of complaints. One, the rear bench is a bit short for my legs, and I don't get quite enough under-thigh support. And also the transmission tunnel is pretty large, because we do have a rear-driven platform, and yeah, maybe the third passenger would need to share the space for the legs with the other two passengers. But other than that, once again, more than fine back here. Now let's check out the passenger side. Once again, premium materials, premium decor, with the control for the heated seat on the door card, and an additional speaker in here. But other than that, pretty similar with the one in the back. In terms of the seats themselves, because they are identical, you do get a bit of adjustments over here. You can raise the front part of the seat, or even extend the base of the seat from here, and you also get a lumbar support and 4-way adjustment. But weirdly, if you want to slide the seat front and back, you have to use that lever, because it's not electrical. As I said, weird. Now, let's check out the space in here. I'm gonna close the door because it's freezing outside. But the sound of the door closing, it's actually pretty nice. Yeah, in this position I only get about 1 finger of space for my knees, and also on the left side of the dashboard the material is pretty hard. I wouldn't enjoy resting my knee on the long trip over here, but if I slide it a bit towards the back, now you can see I do have more leg room, and actually I can open the glove box, which is pretty interesting, with 2 stories to say so. It is covered, but only on the inside, not on the door itself. Again, a bit weird. Even so, after all, again, you have to consider the fact that the engine is in line with the car, and that's why you're a bit restricted in terms of space here in the cabin. And at last, we're gonna check out the driver's side. Similar to the one from the passenger, obviously you do get an additional control for locking and unlocking the doors from the inside, the electric windows and the outside mirrors. Plus, being a plug-in hybrid, you have to release the fuel filler cap from here, and also you can open the trunk area from here. I already mentioned that the seat itself is identical with the one from the passenger side, as you can see. Going towards the front of the car, we have the parking brake on the left side of the steering wheel and the light controls as well. Now, again, I'm gonna take a seat inside the car. And as you can see, this is the driver POV. Being an AMG pack, you do get this lovely steering wheel in terms of the shape of it. It's a bit thick, but it does have perforated leather on the sides, and some sort of touch sensitive controls that I'm not necessarily a fan of, but what can you do? The left side controls the display from the gauge cluster and also the cruise control of the car, and on the right side you control the infotainment screen and also the phone and the sound inside the cabin and the voice controls. Behind the steering wheel we do get flappy paddles for the gearbox, and the gearbox stock itself, it's on the right side. On the left side you do get the controls for the wipers and lights. Not much to say about the gauge cluster. It's digital. You can configure it with a lot of information. Sometimes it feels a bit much, honestly, but overall it's a nice integration with the design of the car. Going towards the middle of the car, as you can see, we have the light fixture with some ambient lighting as well, the SOS button, Mercedes Me, and the control for the sunroof. The mirror is dimmable and it's frameless, quite a modern design again. The air vents, the start-stop button, which used to have, or no, I think it still does, for the petrol engines or the diesel engines. There's blank space here for start-stop system, the deactivation of the start-stop system. Then we have the infotainment screen, the new MBUX from Mercedes, which also incorporates the climate menu, but once again, at least they're all the time on the screen. Going further, we have another layer of capacitive buttons for the driving modes, the parking cameras, the EQ menu that's adapted for this plug-in hybrid, the settings of the car, the only physical button in here, which is the hazard lights. This one is a fingerprint reader, and you also have some controls for the volume and to power on or off the system. Then going further back, you do get a flap that reveals some additional storage space with a wireless charger in here, a couple of USB-C actually, and a couple of cup holders that seem to be adjustable, and you can also remove them entirely. I'm not really sure about the material. At a first glance it seems a bit better compared with the EQE that you can already watch the review of it on the channel, but maybe it's just my first impression, I'm not really sure. It's an area that things could have been better actually. Then you get the armrest with another set of USB-Cs and some additional space in here. Welcome to the driving part of the review with the C-Class, the plug-in hybrid. Well, we are already on a new set, and as you already probably saw on the static review, we had a bit of snow today. So yeah, it's a new decor, a new part for the driving. The drive test of the review, and I'm already on the road with the car because I wanted to get my impressions ready for you. And we're actually driving on electric power for the moment. The owner had charged the car from the get-go, and it was showing about 70 to 80 kilometers of range. It did drop a little because I used the climate control while filming the static review, but even so, at about 80%, the car was still showing 67 kilometers of range, and now it's about 60%, and it says that I can drive for another 49. So yeah, it seems to be efficient enough, reasonable efficient in electric power. We are on the stretch of road outside the city with a limited speed of 90 kilometers per hour. But you can drive on electric power up to 140 kilometers per hour, so over the speed limit on highways here in Romania. And actually, it's quite punchy for a hybrid. And it's a bit interesting because it does have quite a lot of torque, and it goes only to the rear wheels. So yeah, you could have some fun with the car, even in electric power, in the electric mode, because even though the battery is in the trunk and it's hovering on the rear suspension of the car, it still feels a bit loose. At least nowadays, when the outside temperature is about minus 1.5 degrees Celsius right now. It was a bit colder before. and after a bit of snow from the other day, so yeah, pretty interesting. I drove the car for a moment in hybrid mode and in sport mode, and I'm gonna do the same going forward. The overall impression of the car is, of course, more leaning towards the comfort side of the Spectre, because we are running on 18 inches, so it does have quite a bit of rubber on the wheels. We have pneumatic suspension on the rear, and yeah, in front it feels a bit firm, but not something that's gonna bother you even on a long drive. The overall noise insulation inside the cabin, the noise vibration harshness index, it's pretty good, considering it's a premium car. It's in line with the competitors. Not amazing, but after all, we don't have double glazed windows, and we are in the station wagon, which tends to have an echo, especially on the back side of the car. But as I said, for the most part, it's exactly as you would expect a premium model from Mercedes to feel like inside. All the controls are easy to use, the steering wheel is light, the pedals are light as well, the gearbox.
I cannot answer that just now.
Cancel. Yeah, the voice assistant thought I was talking to it. What I was saying? Yeah, the gearbox works without even skipping a bit. You don't really feel the gear changes in hybrid mode, at least. More about that in a moment. So yeah, all in all, it's a lovely car to travel in. I'm not really sure about the weight. Obviously, being over 2 tons, it's not so agile like a petrol version would otherwise be. And also the fuel economy, maybe it's gonna be worse from time to time if you're depleting the battery. Mercedes says that the average values should be at around 6.8 liters, but for this model I was told that the values are between 8.
How can I help?
Cancel.
Sorry, something went wrong.
Cancel. Yeah, something went wrong. You keep interrupting me. Anyway, I was speaking about the consumption in terms of petrol. You're most likely to see values between 8 liters and to around 12, maybe 13 inside the city, if you're not using the battery at all, or especially if you're using the petrol engine to charge the battery. Even more so, the consumption is gonna go up. But if you have a scenario where this car works for you, if you can plug it in every day and use it inside the city, mainly on electric power, because it does have plenty enough range with a full battery, then it actually makes sense. And I'm not really sure why would you go for a petrol engine or even a diesel. Do they still have diesels? Yeah, I think they do. Anyway, not really for everybody, but again, if you are using it the right way in the right scenario, it's gonna turn out to be a lovely car. both in terms of the driving dynamics and the driving feel, and in terms of costs. Yeah, I know it's not really expensive, considering how the whole car market situates itself right now in 2025, but it's not cheap by any mean. This model went for about 70,000 euros for a C-Class. I mean, seriously? That's a lot of money. But again, if you're doing your homeworks and you know what you're getting yourself into, it could be something really cheap to own and to drive, or could be something that's a bit way too expensive, and it's probably not necessarily worth it. In terms of space, again, we are not in an E-Class or an S-Class, so if you only have a child, or maybe you're a couple, you will be more than fine with the space inside the cabin and also in the trunk area. So yeah, you have to manage your expectations somewhat. I'll take a short break. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Resuming. I'm gonna talk for a moment about the maintenance of the car. Being a petrol engine is not really something to be especially concerned. Yeah, you could do an oil change at around 10,000 kilometers, maybe 12 if you're using the car outside the city, and you let the engine go to the operating temperature. And of course the same applies for the gearbox, for the differential. For the gearbox, maybe at around 80 to 100,000 tops, you should consider some maintenance for the gearbox. But as I said, if you're keeping the car maintained in a predictive manner, I don't see why would you have some problems with it. Considering the weight of the thing, yeah, you could be careful with the suspension, with the brakes, and especially the tires, because they're gonna worn out a bit sooner compared with the diesel or petrol counterparts. But other than that, I don't think it's gonna be a bother necessarily. So yeah, I'm not able to talk about the problems because the owner didn't encounter any problem with it. After all, it's only about 2.5 years old, and the mileage is at about almost 37,000 kilometers. So no problems until now. And yeah, overall, a nice place to sit in, to travel. Now I'm gonna switch the car to sport mode, and actually let me switch the gauge cluster as well. I'm gonna drive for a moment until I get the oil temperature at least over the first segment, and then I'm gonna try to do a sprint to about 100 kilometers per hour to let you hear the noises inside the cabin. Until then, I'm gonna talk about the things that I enjoyed with this review, with this car, and for the most part is the overall feel of the car. It feels like a premium car should feel. The materials are pretty good for the most part. The driving feel, the gearbox, even the petrol engine are on par with premium models. And that's something that I tend to appreciate nowadays. The comfort levels as well, the seats, they are pretty comfortable. You can adjust them and find your ideal driving position. The ambient lighting of the car, Mercedes is pretty good at ambient lighting, so even on this model doesn't disappoint. So yeah, all in all, pretty impressed with the car. I don't really feel the need of an all-wheel drive system, not even on slippery surfaces. If you know what you're doing behind the steering wheel, you won't have a problem with the fact that only drives the rear wheels. So yeah, that's gonna be it in terms of the positives. I do have some negatives, but honestly, I scratched my head to find some. And I'm gonna start with the materials, from the cup holders, from lower on the lower part of the door cards or the central console, both in front and in the back. The materials are not necessarily on par with premium cars, with premium manufacturers, but it's something to be expected. I mean, yeah, it's an expensive car, but nowadays they're all expensive, so they did have to cut some corners now and then. But other than that, it's still a car where the manufacturer paid attention to details, and even though they did some questionable things here and there, it's mainly something that you have to get used to, not necessarily something that it's a problem or it's gonna be a problem on the long term. I'm thinking about the piano black inside the cabin. It's not an extensive use of it, so I don't think it's gonna age that bad. Maybe the one from the steering wheel, where you also have the controls, the capacitive touch controls that are not ideal, not my favorite, but again, I think you can get used to them. The fact that you have the climate control on the infotainment screen and you don't get physical buttons, again, it's something that you're gonna have to get used to it. But they are not necessarily downsides in the true meaning of the word, of the phrase. So yeah, all in all, as I said, I'm enjoying the car. I would prefer it to be a sedan, to not have that echo inside the cabin in the back. But I get the fact that you get more space back there, and it does feel like a premium car, even on the trunk area. So again, all in all, a pretty nice place to be, inside the city or on the road trip. Alright, now I'll try to find a place to be able to slow down and do a sprint, hopefully from about 30 to 100 kilometers per hour. And I think that's gonna cover the driving part as well. Let's see, I can... No, I'm not able to go here off the road, and it seems to be a dog. Yeah, and it doesn't care that we are over here anyway. Okay, it's a service station up front. Maybe I'll try to pull aside for a moment and then do a sprint, returning on the main road. It started snowing, so yeah, I intend to end the driving part as well. But at least the oil got up to temperature, so we can do a sprint without a concern. Oh, and yeah, I forgot to mention something. Mainly it's a problem if you used electric cars and you're not used to having gearbox changes with an electric motor, but that's something to be considered. And also the brake pedal, it doesn't blend in the regenerative braking with the physical brakes all that seamless. But again, those are things that you're gonna get used to. I'm pretty sure of it. I'm nitpicking once again. Let's do the sprint. That was it. Yeah, you do get some fake noises inside the cabin. Let me try something else. I'll switch to the hybrid profile. And as I don't have any cars behind me, I can slow down for a moment and try again. That was it. Yeah, the pickup is a bit sluggish if you're in hybrid mode, not in sport mode. But I'm not really a fan of the sounds that they pump in through the speaker. So I would rather hear the noise of the engine, even though it's not that loud actually, which again seems to be something good. Yeah, that was the sprint, and I'm gonna conclude the review with this. I hope that you enjoyed what you saw, and I would like you to consider liking the video, and why not subscribe to the channel. If you want to leave some impressions, you can use the comment section here on YouTube or on social media. And until next time, thank you for watching.